situation has gotten much worse since the COVID-19 pandemic. During the pandemic, once again, the Bank of Canada dropped interest rates to zero, and Canadians began borrowing to buy houses faster than ever. Between 2020 and 2022, house prices in Canada soared by 50%. Then inflation came along, like it did in many other countries, and the Bank of Canada did what other central banks around the world did. It started raising interest rates. This has had a nasty effect on Canada's housing market. Unlike in the US, where you can get a mortgage for 30 years with a fixed interest rate, in Canada, mortgages last 5 years and then have to be renewed at a new interest rate. You can also choose between a fixed rate for that 5 years or a variable rate that goes up and down with interest rates in the economy. During the pandemic, variable rate mortgages had lower interest rates than fixed rate mortgages. With house prices so high, many buyers chose the variable rate. About a third of Canadians have variable rate mortgages, where the interest cost can go up and down every month. When the Bank of Canada started raising rates, 1/3 of Canadian mortgages instantly started to get more expensive. Plus, the remaining fixed-rate mortgages all come due within 5 years, meaning even people with fixed-rate mortgages are now being forced to refinance with much higher interest rates. This put the squeeze on Canadian consumers. Many began to panic. But Canada's banks, wanting to avoid a US-style housing bust, came up with a novel solution. They started increasing the amortization length of mortgages, that is, the amount of time it takes to pay off a mortgage. This lowered mortgage payers' monthly payments, but it also extended the length of those mortgages by a lot. Because the amount of money being borrowed is so high, many Canadians now have mortgages that will take 70, 80, or even 90 years to pay off. This is not a joke. This is what Canadians are facing today. The dream of owning a home has become the nightmare of nearly permanent debt slavery, and all it took was a hike in interest rates. Meanwhile, for first-time buyers, the price of housing combined with high interest rates has made it impossible to buy a home. People are still buying homes, but those buyers are existing homeowners who can leverage the wealth in their current homes to buy investment properties, or their corporations buying homes out from under families. A recent analysis found that at current house prices and interest rates, only 10% of Canadians could actually afford to buy a house in today's market. No wonder Canada's home ownership rate is falling, from 70% a decade ago to 66.5% today, and it will almost certainly keep falling. Canadians are being squeezed out of home ownership one household at a time. Adding to the problem is a growing housing shortage. Canada's federal government, led by Prime Minister Justin Trudeau of the Liberal Party, recently increased Canada's immigration levels to around 500,000 newcomers per year. But on top of new permanent residents, Canada also takes in hundreds of thousands of foreign students and temporary foreign workers every year, most of whom end up staying in the country. The result is that Canada's population is now growing at a rate of 1 million per year, a huge number for a country of 40 million people. Canada's population growth rate is one of the fastest in the world, on par with some sub-Saharan African countries. And the thing is, Canada's sluggish, underinvesting economy can't keep up with this population growth. The economy literally cannot keep pace with the population, and in the second half of 2022, Canada fell into a per capita recession. Its economy is still growing overall, albeit slowly, but on a per-person basis, it's shrinking. There aren't enough jobs and there's not enough economic growth to keep everyone in the country as wealthy as they were before. Rapid population growth is also causing Canada's once beloved healthcare system to be strained to the limit. None of Canada's 1 million new arrivals per year are able to work as doctors because Canada doesn't recognize foreign medical credentials from most immigrant countries. The country lost a lot of healthcare workers during the pandemic. Many of them quit due to stress or because they disagreed with the vaccine mandates that the government-run healthcare systems imposed. And today, the healthcare system is gaining almost no new workers, even as the population explodes. Equally bad is that Canada doesn't have the construction workers to increase the housing supply to keep up with the population growth. Canada is able to build about 200,000 new homes per year, maybe 240,000 if construction companies go all out, but that's nowhere near enough to house 1 million new residents per year. And economists say there aren't enough construction workers to build more than that. A recent report from Canada's mortgage insurer estimated that the country needs to build 5.8 million new homes in the next 7 years. It's on track to build around 2 million. And all those new immigrants coming into the country, virtually none of them are going to work in construction. Canada's immigration is based on a point system that values high-skilled labor, that is, people with a college or university degree. That means Canada gets high-quality immigrants who can contribute a lot to the economy, but it doesn't get construction workers. With the housing shortage getting worse every day, apartment rents are soaring, up 30% in Toronto in just the past year. And so the country is stuck in a game of musical chairs, where the lowest earning people are being pushed out into the streets, and homelessness is growing by the day. The worst part is that there is no political will to fix the problem. Canada has 4 major political parties, 5 if you count the separatist Bloc Québécois, and none of them have any plan to seriously increase the supply of housing. That's because at this point, with the cost of land and construction so high, they can see that the government doesn't have the money to fix this problem. It would take hundreds of billions of dollars of borrowed money to build those 5.5 million homes, and at today's interest rates, the government can't afford it. Not to mention, doing something about housing affordability means house prices would come down, and no politician wants to alienate the 2/3 of Canadians who still own a home and are happy with their massive equity gains. At the same time, none of the political parties are willing to cut the immigration rate. Anytime a politician suggests lowering immigration levels, they're accused of being racist and xenophobic. This is despite the fact that a majority of Canadians, including immigrants, think the government's new immigration levels are too high. In other words, Canada's political leadership is as stagnant and out of ideas as its business community. In the coming years, we can expect to see Canadians dying of preventable diseases, families being forced to live in the streets, and politicians who simply turn their head and pretend the problem doesn't exist. Sadly, Canada's crisis will have to get much worse before the country realizes it has to take action. And if you're thinking of emigrating to Canada, we have 3 words for you: don't do it.